and get more silver metal into the system, because God knows when the financial system breaks, we're going to need, that gold and silver. We don't have enough right now for everybody to get involved with it. We only have enough ounces of silver, something like 1/10 of an ounce of silver for every, potential investor on the planet, or something like that.
Because we're back here at Silverfest 2, I am joined by the great Rob Keynes, one of my dear friends. And as we were talking about a little bit this morning, Rob and I both went through this process from corporate America into creating our own business, or whatever you call a YouTube channel, and talking about precious metals. And Rob, I would suggest that it wasn't in particular any of the individual steps that were important, but more just a different way of thinking about things and a different mindset, rather than feeling like you have to be an employer where your boss represents your family's security. So that's why I'm really excited to have you for this panel today, where we will talk about how to get involved in the silver industry. Obviously, the American corporate economy, not too sturdy right now. They might want you to get vaxxed. And certainly I know I need help with things. Rob, I know there's a lot of things that you're expanding to. And perhaps you could start out just by touching on your experience of, you've been doing this for a long time, but recently you finally left your corporate job. And again, the theme of this panel, not only how to get involved in the silver industry, but we have a lot of silver mining executives watching now. I know a lot of them are looking for talented people who understand silver, understand the silver mindset. We have video makers who can help with media, a lot of talent out there. And anything you could share there just to help people who might be going through that process now.
Yeah, I think we live in a different world than we did a couple of years ago, Chris. When you and I, first started talking and met at PDAC, and we're talking about doing this, the world has changed a lot. We've been through, a lot of changes in our society, travel restrictions, changes in the way we do business. I know the last couple of years I worked at Verizon. I was working remotely, pretty much from home. And, that was a change from what I'd always been in. And for me, it finally came down to a decision of having, the freedom to make choices for my health and for myself that I didn't want my corporate employer to be able to make. I think corporate employers now are overstepping their bounds in terms of telling employees what they have to do for their health related decisions. And for me, that was pretty much the breaking point. And that's why I left the corporate role that I was in. I was very fortunate to get involved in this industry about 10 or 12 years ago when I started writing. And eventually that turned into a gig where I'm doing content online. And I did it just as an enthusiast because I love the sector. So to answer your question, for anybody that wants to get involved, really, to me, it starts with, you got to love what you do. If you love what you do, then opportunities just kind of open up. It's amazing the doors that open when you express an interest in something and are willing to put your effort into it, your time and your effort. And that's basically what happened for me. And that opportunity allowed me to have a little personal financial freedom and run Gold, Silver Pros, where I didn't have to depend upon somebody else for employment anymore. For those of you wanting to get involved in the industry, like you said, there's a ton of miners out there. There are probably 1,000, good miners that you could consider getting involved with. I know a lot of them are here at your conference, Chris. A lot of them, we've had at conferences as well. And they're looking for good people. And a lot of the people that I ask, especially if you're getting like an IR type of position, a lot of the people I've asked about how did they get in, they said, you know what, I just kind of fell in love with the space. I was talking about this with some of the IR people representing mining companies at Silver Symposium in Idaho a few weeks ago. I said, how'd you get in this space? And one girl had worked in media for a long time. She was actually an anchor of a local TV station. And she said, I was just looking for a change because I was working 90 hours a week and didn't have a personal life, much like a lot of our experience in corporate America. And she said, I wanted to do something that I really enjoyed, that felt passionate about, that offered me an opportunity also, to have work-life balance. And she found an opportunity at a miner, and they treat them very well. They treat their employees very well and take care of them and provide them opportunity. So there are a lot of ways to do it. You could go work for a mining company. You could work in IR. If you're an accountant, you could work in accounting. If you're a geologist, there are tons of opportunities out there. We're not graduating enough geologists or even engineers to fill the role and the need at the mining companies. And this is a topic of conversation I had with some of the geologists that were at New Orleans Investment Conference last week when I was in New Orleans. They're like, we don't have enough geologists. So if you have that background or you're interested in geology, There is a huge need right now to replace some of the retiring talent, geology talent in the mining space. They're not going to have enough geologists, so there are a lot of ways to get into the business. There are a lot of ways if you love silver and gold and you love this industry, there are lots of ways to get involved in. And I think there's going to be tons of opportunities for people that want to get involved.
Yeah, Rob, I think that's quite well put, because let's say, all right, someone's saying, well, I'm not a geologist. What am I going to do? But for example, we have Jenny Alicia, who's a super fan out there, who's watching all the time, always in the chats. So just think about the value that, these companies, a lot of them have great projects, but they're thinking, how do I actually get to the silver investors? Wall Street's not covering that. The banks aren't covering that. So someone who's active in the chats, and I think perhaps something worth touching on is that really, I think the key for me, and I believe might apply to you as well, it wasn't that we needed to necessarily learn how to do something new, but it was a matter of saying, hey, here's what I like doing. Here's how I could package it so that it's valuable to someone. And I love the idea of a one sheet where it's like, all right, say I just love gold and silver. Maybe starting a YouTube channel isn't your thing, but if you love talking about it and you just sit there in the chats all day, I mean, for example, if someone came to me that I trusted, I knew well, and said, hey, I'm going to go into the other silver videos, and they had an Arcadia banner and it was just more people seeing the name, having a positive conversation in a style that I would like, spreading the message, different places where I can't be there, I would pay for that. Rob, I'm guessing you would pay for that. You've had people get involved. You had Daniel give his time and research skills. And that's one of the things that I really want to facilitate in the Arcadia Barter post. Just not because there's not a set formula, but when you get to know people and become friends with them and connect with them, then you can discuss different ideas. And hey, maybe, this guy doesn't want something right now, but he knows his buddy Sean, who actually would love someone like that. And anything you could add just to that type of thinking, which for many of us, especially for me growing up in New Jersey, just thinking the purpose of life was to get good grades so I could go to college, work in a corporation. What could you say about that might be helpful for folks?
So I think you touched on a lot of good points. So you and I got started just because we love the industry. We're so interested in it that it went from like hobby to investment interest to something that we now do for a living. And there's a handful of us, Chris, out there doing that for the industry. And we're very valuable to the industry. As you mentioned, a lot of the miners they don't get on mainstream media. They're not going on CNBC unless they're one of the big ones, like maybe Newmont or something. They don't get a lot of access in the traditional financial media. So the way in which you get the word out for this industry is really through conferences, meetups with people, even one-on-ones, investor meetings, things like that. But the best way really is social media. With social media, you can reach people around the world very easily. It's relatively inexpensive, but you can talk about the industry from end to end, whether it's the mining and refining piece of it to, the marketplace where you buy gold and silver to the silver stackers. All of that can be done in this format. And Jenny Alicia has a comment. So how do you want to hire me, Chris? I think we see Jenny Alicia's. And Jenny Alicia, if you're a mining company, and you look at Chris's followers and my followers, one of the best values to you are people like Jenny Alicia, Dumb Money Media, Steve Mueller, Michael Sayre, all these super fans that we have on our channels, Joe Grande, that love the industry and go tell their friends. This is a word of mouth business. It's a networking business. And having those people, Chris, that support our channels are really the way in which we promote this entire industry from end to end. That's really the only way to do it, because you're not seeing us on Yahoo Finance. And I think if you can play a role in this industry very easily, if you just have a passion for this industry, you can do a lot of things. You can make video content. It's very easy to learn how to do videos. And video content is some of the most sought after advertising medium that companies in the space need. If you want to go work for Andy Scheckman at Miles Franklin, and you can start doing anything. You could be a packer of the metals. You could be a relationship manager. There are a lot of things that you can do that you don't have to come, with a master's degree in. So there are tons of ways to get involved, but the more that each of us does in this industry, the better it is for the industry, and more the industry will grow. And again, it can be just something that you start off part-time, just like we did.
Well, fortunately, I was just asking Dumb Money Media if companies could hire him to make videos. He makes very engaging videos. We're going to run the promo he made for us later tonight on my YouTube channel. And then we get a message that Kyle Bastunchuri says he can get videos made. So, Yara, perhaps you can make a note. Kyle Bastunchuri might be able to help with some of our video things so I can spend more pool time and achieve my goal of being as lazy as entirely possible.
Yeah, I think the video army is what we need, social media army. So if those of you out there are social media guys and you understand networking is the most powerful medium on social media for talking about this industry end to end. And if you want to be a part of promoting the precious metals and, promoting some of the brands that you see here and the people that you see here, social media probably is the number one way to do it. I think that's going to be the growth sector of jobs in this space. And you can make an entire career out of it. I know I have a fan, Michael Sarah, who's in the chat, has been doing precious metals charts of precious metals sold every day from ATMEX, one of the largest providers. And that's become extremely popular. People want to know what people are buying and how much they're buying and how much inventory is available. And he simply took some data, downloaded, put it into Excel, massaged it with Adobe Photoshop, and now he's basically got, he could turn that into a business if he wanted. So it's ideas like that. I mean, any way in which you can promote the industry and talk about the industry.
Yeah, and Rob, I'll add that Jenny Alicia loves the Dumb Money Media video. It was so good. I would second that. And I'll get the ball rolling now. Yara, can you hear that? I'm offering one of Andy Scheckman's 10-ounce silver bars. Thank you, Miles Franklin. If you have questions about ordering physical silver, info or Andy at milesfranklin.com, who is putting that 10-ounce piece in the pot. Yara, we're going to hire someone right now, live on the spot at Silverfest 2. This is the reason why you sign up, because this will get to the YouTube channel eventually, most likely. But I'm assuming it'll be too late to win this 10-ouncer by then. Yara, 10 ounces going to someone with great social media skills. We'll pick the winner at the end of Silverfest 2, maybe at the party on Sunday being hosted by Transcendental Comedy Experience, which is quite hot. Well, they will be introducing their league of making banker meme videos. We're going to have an NFL-style schedule where you can compete to make the funniest JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs videos. So we'll give away the prize then for someone who uses some great social media skills to share the videos that we've made in the last day on the Arcadia channel. Share links on Twitter. Someone who just exemplifies great social media skill will reaches out to new audience. There's 10 ounces of silver in the pot. So money is on the table. We are hiring. Rob, I can only imagine what you could use help with, but maybe you could tell us.
Honestly, it's just spreading the word. I've been fortunate to have a business which allows me to hire, a couple of full-time employees. We're bringing our third one on here on Monday that's going to help. But I would say anybody that wants to volunteer and help to talk about the industry, do it on your networks. Spread this out. Every person that you reach out to reaches out to another person. You quickly double, triple, quadruple, the size of people interested in precious metals. And that's good for all of us. The more people that we get interested in the precious metals, and of course, the more friends that you have, but also, the better the prices are going to do, the better the awareness is going to do in terms of getting out of this crazy, weird financial system that seems to put value on nothing. I mean, in fact, I think when I look at corporate America, the more of a nothing I see in a company, it's almost like the more they're valued. It's like the least amount of value they provide, the higher their stock price goes. And we're living in bizarro world. And this is an opportunity for us to help our friends and family and people we know get involved in something that's real and tangible. And just doing that has tremendous value for everybody in the industry.
Whoops. Now I will say that again, now that I've hit the unmute button. So excited about giving away silver because, Rob, since I love what you're doing at goldsilverpros.com, we have a YouTube channel and a website. If you give me a name Sunday of someone that through all of this action caught your attention in some incredible way, maybe they shared some of your videos, let people know about the great things you're doing, did something silvery. I was going to throw in 1 ounce of silver, but that's going to need to be 5. So Yara, 5 ounces for whoever impresses Rob by taking this knowledge and applying it in some great way and seeing that, hey, maybe if I did this more than once and then I started getting better and more efficient at it, these guys would be throwing more silver than I would be able to stack without burning my triceps, lifting all the different things. Rob, would you be generous enough before I overextend my triceps with these silver presses? I don't want to get too cut this early in Silverfest. You could pick someone who impresses you by applying this knowledge, and I'll throw in the 5 ounces of silver out of Andy Scheckman's vault to reward them.
Yeah, absolutely. I can do that. I've got a couple of names in mind already.
Well, that is what I like to hear. And let's see if we have any questions. Is there anybody out there who is currently, now we wouldn't want to call it a job. I don't like the neurolinguistic programming semantics of that, but who's looking for an abundant source of income, is tired of working for a corporation possibly, and Yara, is there a way we can bring someone on the main stage? Maybe someone would like to explain their situation. We can dig in. Maybe if they message you, if we have someone that would like some help getting through a situation, or if there is one of our mining companies watching right now, or if somebody else is hiring in the silver industry, perhaps if you can message Yara and she can bring you on the main stage. Rob, what would you advise to someone? You said it, but I think it's worth repeating. What's a first step someone could start with? Let's say they're facing a vaccine mandate and they're like, you know what, maybe this is a great time to get out of here. Actually, I'll get the ball rolling on that one. I would say, especially with how much less expensive food, living, and all costs are here in Mexico, I was thinking, especially in today's Zoom era where you can work remotely and complete what you're doing. Maybe for me, Mexico was right. Maybe for you, it's somewhere else. But also, there's one place where you can apply this knowledge. Say, all right, now that I'm understanding the currencies and the different ways life goes in different places, location might be something to think about. So if anyone has a question about anything along those lines, find me in one of the booths. Happy to discuss that. Rob, maybe something like that that you could offer that might be a good first step, even just to get someone thinking about feeling more comfortable about the process.
Yeah, the first thing that made me comfortable was working from home. Once my employer went to, hey, you can work from home, I kind of thought, well, why do I have to work from you? Couldn't I work for myself? So the more location independence you have and self-sufficiency you have, the ability to reach the internet, produce content, edit content, those types of things will go a long way. There's a lot of, even if not in the gold and silver space, if you're just wanting independence and you have a skill set, going on YouTube / all the other social media and providing helpful videos on how to do that. For example, if you're good at gardening, growing vegetables, building things, I've seen people that are welders that get on YouTube and make videos in welding, and it turns into like they become a full-time pro at that, and the market values that because you're providing information on a skill that a lot of people need over a format which is easy for people to consume. So think about today's digital world. There are a lot of ways in this digital world to provide value to people that don't require you necessarily showing up at somebody else's job and taking that paycheck. Think about ways in which you can add value to the world and do it. You can start off with barter. We're talking about barter here at the conference, Chris, bartering silver. You can also barter skills. You can barter skills for silver. You can barter skills for other things that you need. And then if your skill is valuable enough, you can offer that to the world through various mediums. And that's the first place I would start. But yeah, if there are lower places, cost of living, I live in Texas, relatively low cost of living, Mexico, even more so. Thinking about where you live. Do you have to live in LA and New York, or could you have a good quality of life somewhere else? And maybe that frees you up to do other things. So I think there are a lot of ways that you can become more self-sufficient, where you don't necessarily have to take whatever, that lowest price employer wants to give you, especially if they're making you make decisions over your health and where you live and how much money you make.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Jordan P asks here, does anyone make silver business cards? I'm in the market for something like that. I don't know if anyone else has ever seen this. It was like a laminated business card that had a silver dime in it. Oh, and we actually did get some of these. It's kind of like a silver business card. It had the company's logo engraved, but certainly something that you could have your own logo or a business card. So I am in the market for that. And Yara, have we found anyone to fill that yet? I know Joe Grandy thought he might, but if anyone is able to do that or has a lead on how to do that, certainly you can mention it in the chat. Or you could also go on over to the Arcadia Barter Post booth, which I will pop up on the screen here. So in case you didn't know, if you look on the left, there's a button that says Expo with all of the exhibitor booths. Certainly, if you have questions about any of these companies, you can ask them. And then down at the bottom here is the Arcadia Barter Post. Perhaps we can get that moved to the top for additional liquidity, Yara. You could come in here, and if you would like to barter or talk about bartering or have ideas or questions, you can go there and get them answered. Rob, anything in particular that you are in the market for, labor or otherwise, that maybe you'd be willing to part with some silver for?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll trade silver for anybody that knows how to do video editing work. And like I said, social media stuff. I think that's probably our biggest need. Well, I'm sure I could think of a lot of others. If you have skills that you think could be helpful to a business such as ours, and you want to provide those. We also go to conferences every once in a while. So people helping us do work at conferences, organize meetings, take film, network with people. We may be coming to a city near you next year. We're going to be doing some road shows. So for example, when we announce those, if you live in that city we're coming to, you want to help us organize our event, I'd be more than happy to part with some silver as payment for that as well.
Well, look, we have some good news. Steve, the great Steve Cope, excuse me, let me get his name pronounced properly, of Silver Viper, who will be joining us a couple times this week, was already in his Silver Viper booth. Steve, if you're there, Yara, could we see if Steve is free? If he has a minute, maybe he could hop on the stage. Dumb Money Media is coming on the stage. Wow, look at this liquidity. The Arcadia Barter Post is open. As Steve writes, as per the Gold Silver Pros, that's Auditor Rob, event at New Orleans Investment Conference, the biggest need moving forward for our industry is how do we effectively get our corporate messages in front of the millennials, who are the most powerful investment group out there and about to get even more powerful over the next 10 years. So this isn't just me saying it. This is someone I can confirm. He's been supporting financially what we're doing. Part of the reason that, Rob, you remember where we were at back last PDAC, we didn't know if we were going to be able to continue this, but we figured out how I could take what I like doing, how it could be valuable to others. And here Steve is mentioning, as someone who's running one of these companies that I personally believe is probably going to make a large amount of money for his shareholders. And we'll see if we can get Steve to join us here. Especially that'd be a perfect union between him and Dumb Money Media, who made a great video for us. But while we get that all sorted out, Rob, anything you would comment on this message here?
Yeah, part of the research I did at that private event at New Orleans Investment Conferences was the millennials. They're about a third of the investment market right now, compared with Gen Xers and baby boomers in terms of number of people. But they're going to inherit and or earn $63 trillion over the next 10 to 15 years. So they're going to be the big whales out there in terms of investing. However, I don't think that the industry has done a great job in marketing to them as of yet. And so how we can get that message out to them about why resources are important, why the metals are important, what the opportunities are in the space, so that they can participate in that. Right now, they're underinvested in resources in the precious metals. And when this financial market turns, it's not going to be great for them when the money flows, from the general stock market and bonds into the precious metals. So there's an opportunity here to help the millennials out and having stability in their financial portfolios at the same time as building enthusiasm for it. We're starting to see some enthusiasm for the millennials right now in the market, for sure. We're starting to see some of them come to conferences. I've had several walk up to me at conferences and say, because of social media and what Chris and I do, that they're paying attention. But we need that outreach. We need to reach, more of those people. And that's going to help the industry. It's going to help bring more dollars into the space so we can develop some of these, projects that the explorers are working on and get more silver metal into the system. Because God knows when the financial system breaks, we're going to need, that gold and silver. We don't have enough right now for everybody to get involved with it. We only have enough ounces of silver, something like 1/10 of an ounce of silver for every, potential investor on the planet, or something like that. And gold, the same thing. We need more precious metals to help people out. And the only way we're going to do that is get the investment dollars in to help develop the projects that we need to get those metals out of the ground. So the millennials are going to be, the next investment group we need to reach out to.
Yeah, and I might add, as we, it looks like Steve Silvercope is about to, he's in the back room. I don't see how to add him yet, Yara. Perhaps you can help me out there. One of our video makers, there is Steve. Although real quick, Steve, before we get to your question, I might add Jim Forsyth, another kind sponsor, and also a dear friend, great Korean barbecue eater too, I might add, as we found out. We met Jim in person the day we went to the CFTC headquarters, protested Rusty the boss, and I even had a nice piece of chalk right in front of their building that he participated in the rigging of the silver market. Which, Steve, if you have a lawyer, by the time I'm done with our legal panel on Saturday, I think you got a direct claim against the U.S. government. Make Uncle Sam your – well, I won't finish that for shareholder purposes. But Citizens for Sound Money, C4SM, Jim Forsyth. And I might add a shout out to his incredible partner, Mariana, who is here live in Mexico helping run behind the scenes. They're also looking for help with editing. Now, one of the reasons you won't have to worry about mainstream competition, he only pays in gold and silver, real money, not the fraudulent paper stuff. But Steve, great to have you here. And Mr. Media, great to have you here, dressed like a silver king, I would call that style of outfit. Say hello. Great to meet you. Thank you for the great video work you've been doing. And how are you today, sir?
But yeah, amazing to see you guys. I've been randomly making videos now for stalking you guys, I guess. Is that what it is? Not too sure. But it's been pretty fun. I like making stuff for you guys and spreading the word of metals and silver in the weirdest way possible that makes no sense. So like that's the only way I could do it. Otherwise it wouldn't interest me,
Steve, now he made a video for us that it was really awesome. Plus it felt like I was watching a video game. So I would think that it really would appeal to that millennial audience that you were talking about. And perhaps for Conrad, is that your name, sir, Mr. Media?
Yes.
Okay, so perhaps for Conrad, any other folks watching out there live or that will be seeing the replay broadcast of this. Now, I don't know if Jeff Curry, after he gets let go from Goldman Sachs, is really going to have the skill set you're looking for. But for people with a more silvery vibe than that, rather than me rambling on with the few minutes we have left, Jim Forsyth looks like is going to join us here, Citizens for Sound Money, and add any thoughts that he has. Although, Steve, again, maybe we'll, as we're getting close to wrapping up. So did you have any final thoughts on what Mr. Media said, what Rob or I said, or anything else that you'd like to add of your own on this topic?
No, I'm excited. I mean, I think it's been a long time. This industry's been around a long time and hasn't really changed its way. So it's nice to see some new stuff coming out, whether it's, it seems like every day there's a new social media influencer in our space that's building a following that's, carrying a lot of weight in the investment community, or if it's the various videos and different, it's nice to see things happening differently and people finally adapting. And hopefully, as a group, the Belcara group at Silver Viper can be, on the leading edge of that, because, obviously all of our shareholders will benefit from it if we can start to unlock the value of, these untouched groups that have all the buying power now. And I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully I can be part of it, educating people, as much as I can about our space, and then let's get some pretty cool new video content and get in front of people at the movies and on social media in any which way we can.
And Steve, do you have a couple minutes, maybe even 10 or 15 minutes, or that you could hop into your booth so if there's anybody out there that would like to talk to you, whether it's in regards to specific needs you have, or just something that I found very valuable is sometimes before you go to whoever is like the dream person you want to connect with, even just having people to talk it through. So maybe if someone's early on getting started, just that, Steve, you have a great demeanor that you could, if someone says, hey, you know, this is what my target is, as someone who has hired people like you have, Steve, how could I go about this? What's a good way to catch someone's attention? Do I write a short cover letter? How do you reach people who have a full email box? Steve, you have a couple minutes. You can head over to the Silver Viper booth and people could check in with you if they'd like.
I'll jump over there right now and hang out for 10 or 15 minutes for sure.
All right. Well, Steve, you remember there's a 5-ounce bounty for whoever makes the best media or impresses you. What is your Twitter handle, Steve, for the company? For the best way to find you?
Silver Viper at Silver Viper Corp, or you can reach out, via email, steve.cope@belcaragroup.com or info@silverviperminerals.com, and we'll definitely get in touch.
All righty. So, Steve, why don't you hop on into the Silver Viper booth with that 5-ounce bounty in hand to get the participants a little juiced up. And Jim, now that you're here, I know you have opportunities that it doesn't seem like Ross Benham would be able to spot from his wallet. But what would you say in terms of, as someone who has gold and silver that seems like it's burning a hole in your pocket, what would you say and add to this?
Well, first I got to apologize. I guess you guys called for me. There was a little toilet emergency. I was plunging. So I was dealing with some shit, quite literally.
So it looks like you have an ounce or two of silver for a plumber in the East Coast region right now. Is that right?
Yeah, I've actually paid landscapers with gold, but haven't paid a plumber yet. I tried to do that myself. But yeah, so I missed some of the conversation. I'll just say, kind of my background is Silver Squeeze kicked off. I got super excited. And I was like, I think this is going to be big. And I hired a media person. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to hire a media person. That was Marion. And some time went by. She was doing some good work, getting publicity out there, reaching all the different blogs and stuff. And then we started the nonprofit Citizens for Sound Money. And that's grown so big that I managed to quit my Navy job. Still a little nervous about that. And then started a partnership with some like-minded people to start sawing up 1,000-ounce bars and selling those with silverback precious metals. So yeah, if you're trying to get into this business and, kind of make it a livelihood, there are ways to do it. And I think for me, it's kind of a life's calling. I left a really good paying job to run for office and to help Ron Paul. And this is the same kind of moment where I think this is our moment in time. And the more people can get active in the space and spreading the word, the better. I guess I would just make an emphasis of, social media is a great way to reach a lot of people and be viral, but talk to friends and family. And the weird, these guys came, we had a tornado and they came and cleared the trees out. Is a Hispanic crew for the most part. And afterwards I tipped them in silver. That started a whole conversation. Next thing you know, next time they come to do work, I didn't have enough cash. I was like, you want to take some gold? He's like, sure. Because he was looking to buy some gold. So it's amazing the conversation you can start with people, especially these days. The conversation, people used to think you're crazy. But nowadays, people's minds are a lot more open than they used to be.
Jim, to that point, I used to run real estate for a long time. And a lot of people that work with me were Hispanic, just because in my area in Texas, we have, a lot of people in the field that have those skills. And if I handed them a Mexican Libertad as payment, they would take that before the cash. I would hold out one or the other. They take the Libertads, because I think ingrained in a lot of cultures around the world is understanding that fiat money over time, tends to self-destruct. And I think there are a lot of people, south of the border that haven't had all the opportunities we have, but they do remember the value of gold and silver. And so I do see barter coming, more about with the precious metals. I don't think so much if you walked in downtown LA or New York, but I do think there are a lot of people who understand the value. I had two friends I went out to dinner with that were Cuban the other night, and they were telling me, Americans don't understand how good they have it, and they don't understand how weak the dollar is. But if you come to our country, we understand precious metals.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Someone's
That we understand precious
Or
metals.
trading bell. Jim, you put
I was going to say, is it time up?
That was
Did
me.
somebody just buy a 1,000-ounce silver bar plus the Comex?
No, that was me. That was the close of the markets. TD Ameritrade likes to ring the bell every market close and open. But
so anyway, I mean, I think people realize the value of precious metals, except for people who have maybe grown up in the U.S. and been a little bit spoiled.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's been so long.
Let's keep in mind Ben Bernanke, Rob. There's a few
That's right.
that get it.
And propagandized.
What I don't get is, I mean, people lived through the 70s, right? So it shouldn't be that distant a memory, but, you know, we've never had certainly hyperinflation. But yeah, the South Americans get it. That's why I'm cited that Kinesis added a vault in South America. It was an existing company with a vault and did a lot of business. They source metals from miners. So this taps into a whole new source of supply, but then also is going to open this up to people in South America, because most of our clients, I think, are European and American. But with Kinesis involvement in you know, the asset-backed currency, they can actually, you know, you can buy $50 worth or $10 worth. But yeah, that story about the Venezuelans breaking off flakes of gold, right?
Yeah, well, Jim, I appreciate that. Although, unfortunately, we're going to need to wrap this one up. This panel is already over for time, certainly understandably, because it's an important topic. Although, Jim, much like Steve Cope in the Silver Viper booth, do you have a couple minutes? You could head over to the Citizens for Sound Money booth, and anyone that would like to connect with Jim, whether they have an idea of maybe partnering with him or just want some advice from someone who's gone through this process. Rob, maybe you could head in there as well if you have a couple moments.
Yeah, I'll be heading, you know, not only to Silver Viper, I'll be stopping around various booths in your expo the rest of the day, chatting with people. So, you know, feel free to stop by the booths. We definitely want to answer questions for the supporters of Arcadia. It's very important to have supporters at conferences. So I'll be supporting Arcadia and Silverfest that way by going to the sponsor booths the rest of the afternoon and chatting with people. So stop by. You may see me in various ones the rest of the day.
Well, I sure appreciate that. And as we're getting ready to wrap up here, next on our schedule, we're going to take a little break, have some hangout time, give away silver. Yara?
Yes.
Sierra Madre with Alex Langer and Arcana Silver with Kevin Drover. Now, sometimes these geologists, they're too focused on finding silver deposits that Jeff Curry couldn't even spell. So can you go in there at some point, help make sure that as focused as they get, you help them to give away some silver in the Sierra Madre booth and the Arcana Silver booth, two great companies that have been very supportive of Arcadia. Rob, maybe you can hop into those two booths. I know you're well-versed on both companies. You can give your perspective to anyone who has questions and anyone who would like to talk with Jim. Jim, you're going to be in your Citizens for Sound Money booth?
I could do that. Yep. And I'm back at 6-ish, I think, to talk to the group, to talk out here.
Righty. Well, I sure appreciate that. Coming up at 4 p.m. Central after this hour break, how to barter for silver or anything else you want. We're going to with the Barter King, David Smith, the legend of the Morgan Report, going to be coming in there as well. So go outside, stretch, get something to drink, come hang out. We'll be in Sierra Madre and Arcana Silver. And I'd like to thank everybody who's been here today participating in this. How blessed I am that this is my life now. I get to sit on a roof and talk about I love. And if anyone has questions for me, I'm going to take a little break, but any of the booths, if you're trying to get started in silver or anything, or if you're looking for someone all weekend long, Arcadia Barter Post booth, you can talk about that. But right now, Sierra Madre and Arcana Silver will continue the liquidity, and we will see you on the main stage again in an hour.